to.
John, reference to.
God knows I don't want
Okay,
two people.
so we're going to swear in the new members appointed by the town moderator as budget committee members for the term of 4/12/2017 through 3/14/2018. And this would be Arthur Demas. Yeah. So you can read this off here. And raise your hand.
Oh, I, Arthur Demas, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully, impartially discharge and perform to all the duties incumbent to me as a budget committee member to the best of my abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of this Constitution and to the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
There you go.
So you're gonna just sign that.
And you would sign here. Okay. And another one. There you go.
I, Wayne Brock,
Raise your right hand.
I, Wayne Brock, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as a budget committee member to the rest of my ability, to the best of my abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of this Constitution and the laws of the states of New Hampshire, so help me God.
There you go. Thank you. And sign first line below that.
And John?
And there you go.
All right, the time is now 7:15. I'd like to call to order the April 12th, 2017 meeting of the Tilton Budget Committee. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our town moderator, Chuck Mitchell, for giving up a portion of his busy evening to come down and interview two candidates for the position of Budget Committee member and for swearing them, for filling out the forms, and to John Scanlon for swearing them in. So that this evening we now have a quorum. And with that, I'd like to open the meeting to the election of a chair for the Budget Committee for the next coming year. It's now open.
I would like to nominate Jane Alden for chair of the Budget Committee.
Second.
Are there any other further nominations? Well, Jane Alden has been nominated for chair. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Also, I'd like to nominate this wonderful person for vice chair.
I'll second that. Christine Dembinski has been nominated for vice chair, and there's been a second. Although, are there any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so be it. Before we get into the minute meeting, I just want to point out that I think all of you got a copy of letters with discussions between Joyce Fuweiler, the town administrator, and the attorney in Concord. And we found out that this board, in I believe 1972? The Municipal Budget Act in 1972, that this board was to have 6 elected officials, members at large, and that we also needed to have a member at large from the village district in Lockmere. And that person is to be appointed by the commissioners in Lockmere. And so that's another member that we have to have. Now, it's my understanding, and I don't know whether anybody else read this or not, that it's not necessary for that person to always be here, but they need to be a member. Is that the way the rest of you understood it? Okay, so we will need to get in touch with the commissioners in the Lockmere district and have them appoint a member at large. Pardon? Yeah, Johanna, could you call them and ask them to appoint someone? And as I say, it's my understanding from the literature that I read, and I will check that further, that they do not have to attend every meeting, but there must be a member at large from the Lockmere district appointed. Okay? Does everybody have a copy of the minutes? Take a few minutes to read over them. You weren't here, so you can't vote.
That's right. This makes my life easy tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that she, apparently she left because of...
Everybody had a chance to review them? Okay, for those people who were present,
Motion to accept the Budget Committee minute meetings for February 15th, 2017.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
One abstention.
Okay.
I have to abstain. Right.
So, one abstention.
I think I have to abstain.
No, he
No,
doesn't.
he was
He was here?
Yeah.
But he wasn't a member at that
Yes, he
point.
was.
He just signed in
No,
tonight.
no, he signed in for the new term.
Okay.
The old term was over.
Yeah.
Everybody got 2 write-in votes, and so he wasn't one of the ones that was picked out of the hat. They had to go by the Secretary of State's rules and those things, so he didn't get enough write-ins, but he wasn't picked out of the hat.
Okay.
So anyway, all right, so the next thing is discussion on the upcoming year. Before we do that, I think that we decided that we don't need to approve the contract items this year. So if we just take those off, like the kennel and the park cemetery, because I believe those are contract items, are they not?
They would just be in the regular budget. then.
Yes.
They're being moved over.
Yeah,
as opposed to a,
to coming in for being listed on that list. And I think those were the only two. Anybody think of any others other than those two?
You had talked about Lakes Region Planning Commission.
Lakes Region Planning Commission, I think, was another one. Because they're contracted through the town. Okay, so we'll just eliminate those from that, and they'll just fall into the regular budget.
Okay.
And we do have another person who's coming in. As I say, he was in Manchester and wasn't able to make it back tonight. So we'll be interviewing him at the next meeting. He's filled out the forms. His name is Stephen Decato, and he lives on Caleb Hill Road. And he served on the roads committee, I believe, in town. So at town meeting, he expressed an interest and filled out the form then. We couldn't locate the form, so we may have to have him fill out another one.
They have the forms.
They have his form?
It's here.
Okay, you finally got it, all right. Okay, so when do we start usually sending out the letters?
Usually we start meeting with them probably mid-October, so usually September, end of September, early October,
Okay,
depending on what kind of schedule you want to set.
okay. And any other thing for the upcoming year that we need to think about, or talk about? I'd like to pursue maybe more. We talked last year about the situation with starting, we put $1 aside for a fund in case we wanted to look at some other recreation group. And I do know, I've read in the paper, and that PEMI Youth Group, there is going to be a Tilton PEMI Youth Group. And I'm not sure they have completely decided about where they're going to meet. Have they decided that yet?
It's not
For publication?
confirmed.
Okay, so that's another group that we might want to consider. And I think we need to seriously look at the amount of money that we're giving to the Pines and see how much that equates to per taxpayer. We talked a little bit about this last year, to see what that equates to per taxpayer and what we're gleaning from that in terms of the activity. Because it's easy to say that there are 20 participants, but you can't just say that there are 20 participants without looking at what programs they're participating in, because 20 participants to the Pines means that 20 people signed in when they went in, because that's how they get the number of people. And for instance, I go there once a month to a meeting for an association, another association that's not associated with the Pines at all. It just simply uses a meeting room there, but I sign in. So I would be counted as somebody who uses the Pines facilities, which doesn't equate to any amount of money, really, that would be spent. So I think we need to closely look at that, because we give them a great deal of money, and I'm not sure we're getting what we're expending in terms of services. And we are going to be looking closely, I think, at what services are needed. I do know that we can track pretty clearly and pretty closely exactly what the Youth Assistance Program does in the town of Tilton. And we have not been able to do that for the Pines. And after talking with them last time, I think we did realize that if you sign in there, you're counted as a participant. And I don't think that's a fair judgment of what services are rendered there. And we put a lot of money in there. So it's something I think we should think about, and maybe when we start thinking about interviewing, that we should have a workshop part of the meeting to really come up with some hard figures on what it's buying us. Anything else?
I think that one of the things is making sure that the recreational needs of all of our residents are being fulfilled, and not a certain age group, or that if the taxpayers' money is going to be spent at all towards recreation things, it should fulfill all and cover all age groups, whether it be young children, teens, or even the seniors. It's a recreational committee, recreational fund, and so that's a thing we really need to do.
Yeah,
Do they
exactly.
have the people sign up for these programs?
Yes, they do.
So why can't they provide us that? Show us who's from Tilton or give us statistics from the exact programs instead of the sign-in book?
Well, they, I think, have attempted to do that, but I'll give you an example. When they give a certain number of seniors who use the facilities. Well, what the seniors do is go in and get their blood pressure checked. Or they go in and have a meal once a week that's provided by Community Action Program. So it's really not funded by the Pines. All that person is doing is taking up space in the Pines dining facility. So it's really hard to track it. I mean, we can track it by individual programs. They can tell us how many get scholarships there. I don't think we even have a true number on what a scholarship's worth.
I guess my only concern is not to throw the old saying of the baby out with the bathwater, that if the Pines is providing valuable services, even on a limited basis or a minimal basis, that we take a look at what it's actually providing for what members, and how do we provide that same service outside the Pines. Let's say that there's that one meal a week. If we take that one meal away, who picks that up and where's it go? And how much that would cost us. So that's what I would be thinking about down the road. The second thing I'm looking at is, this year's budget came, was it level up or down? Do we know it?
It was like 1.2, is it, or 2.1, something like that, above.
2.1, I believe.
Went up about 2.1. I would like to take a look over the last 5 years, or even 3 years, to see if the budget is steadily increasing, or whether or not we have reached some boundaries that we can take a look at, taking a look at what we need to spend, and compare that to revenues. Have revenues stayed the same, or have they gone down, or have they increased? And take a look at that and make the projections based upon some of that past history going into the future. And what departments are using what percentage of the funds that we're giving them, and whether those funds are on the increase, decrease, or level for the last 4 to 5 years.
And we have all of that information at our fingertips on the budget reports that we get. So we can see that kind of percentage, and we have those. Those are all in our town reports, so we could look at those for the past 5 years.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking, but if I had something, I can go back into the research. If I had a spreadsheet, and John's good with spreadsheets, that shows us across,
I think
Where's
Tim,
that?
I think Tim has that too. I don't think that'll be a difficult thing to get. In terms of things like the Pines, I guess, and you brought up the senior meal. I mean, I can answer that right now. If it's not served there, that a same meal is served at the senior center in Tilton, and that's not costing the taxpayers anything at this point in time. So, that's one example. And 3 meals a week are served at the senior center.
and I think that's a discussion for later.
Yeah,
This
but
is-
I'm saying that's the kind of thing that
So
we
what
can-
I'm looking at is what services are the Pines providing?
Mhm.
And how we would take a look at replacing those services with something that's just as economical or cheaper than what's going on for them. So that's all I'm looking for. And that's one of those discussions.
Yeah, and
Down the road.
I think that's what I had just said, that we need to look at this coming year. We need to get some hard figures on that, and not just the figures that they provide us based on how many people sign in.
Could we go and figure out what type of information that we're going to be looking at and send them a letter that when they present their budget, we're
I
going
think
to
that's a good idea.
expect this information, how many people and what specific numbers and where we expect those numbers to come from, not from the log or such.
Exactly.
And send that out to them. So that they don't have to backtrack, they can begin tracking immediately,
Yeah, I'd
as
like to
well as
take,
other departments.
not to cut you off, John, but I'd like to take it one step further. We certainly have department heads. Department heads should know the trends within their departments over the last 5 years in regards to expenditures, requests, and they should be able to provide that hard data. So I would say at the same time, if we're going to request that of outside agencies, we should also take a look at our inside agencies for the same data.
It's one of the other things is not having departments look at what they spent last year and expect to get that. We should be starting with a zero budget and then we should
Building
figure out
from there.
what it costs. Not, we paid this for heating last year, so we're gonna add so many percent onto it. They need to go and figure out, how much they spent on heating based on the.
And not to interrupt, but part of that is I'm looking at the data. I'm looking at, has it increased, and what items have been increasing on a steady basis. So when I go to vote for those line items, I know what's been going on for the last 5 years. If there are other items that have not been used and have been, let's say you have $10,000 in the line item and only $1,000 has been used, and that has been steadily going down over the last 5 years, do we need to still look at that $10,000?
Where would that 10,000, what I'm saying is, where would that 10,000 come from? They need to base that on real expenditures that they plan, that they're budgeting for, and not say, well, every year we put $10,000 in here. Why do we put the 10,000? We put 10,000 in for, we're gonna buy so many widgets and so many rubber duckies and so on, and that's where we got the number of 10,000. This is what we plan on doing next year.
But as an independent organization, we'll get the budget from the select board. We need to be able to, I need to be able to go line by line to justify those monies that are coming out. At the same time, let's take the comp time budget for the police department. Every year, they get a certain amount of hours, whether they use them or not. It's in that budget. So I would like to take a look at what has actually been going on for the last 5 years in regards to that. Same with the fines.
And that's like I said, we have that raw data, because it's printed in the town report. So all we need to do is get it on one sheet, so we can take a look by line item and see that. And at current time, all we get is 2 years, I believe. We get last year's, and we get the current year. Does everybody else think that would be helpful to do?
Yeah. So you can weed out some unnecessary stuff.
Yeah. And just because, and I'll give you an example, and I don't mean to pick on the highway department, but, it's easy for the highway department to come in and say, well, we need to spend this much on new equipment next year. And we need to spend that because for the last 5 years, that's what we've needed. Well, they need a definite plan. And I think that this would be a good time to expect that of a new director for the highway department. There were some other things that we had talked with the highway director about, if you will recall, and that's in terms of taking over some of the parks department. So we need to keep a close watch on that month by month as we see the budget come in.
If anybody watched the selectmen meeting last week, that was one of the discussions. The highway department, he is going to be meeting with the parks to see if they can take over some of that this year and transfer the money out of the parks budget for a portion to cover for that, because he didn't plan for that. So he's doing really good with it. He's going to be reporting back to the selectmen, I believe, this week. I think the parks.
The one question I had about that is that last year he had said he was going to send his personnel to train on herbicides and chemicals and so on. And I thought I heard him say that that had been put off. Am I right in that?
It takes some time to get it, and that was one of the things that came up, is whether or not that could be subcontracted out. And he just do the mowing and cleanup and the maintenance of the lawns and that, and have that part go out. He does have some people that will be enrolling into the classes to get their certification. And there was another question as to what Paul Rushlow, who presently does other things for the town in the way of weed control, spraying and herbicides and that, which portions he'd be willing to do or supervise, and also what is allowed for him to supervise if they're not a direct employee. So that is in the works. So probably next year we could proceed with that finally.
Okay.
Save some money there.
All right, anything else? That just gives us some idea of what direction we want to take. So, as I say, I think that maybe we should plan on taking, when we meet regular meetings, maybe taking the last hour to do some looking at some of those figures.
Okay.
And a workshop, if you will. I don't really know anything else to call it, but in terms of really pulling that apart and putting it together and maybe being able to put it on spreadsheets. Okay, the other thing, did everybody get a copy of the current year expenditures? I think Wayne needs a copy of it, Joanna, if you want to.
There
should be one
extra
Is there an
packet over
extra
here?
copy?
An extra packet?
No? Oh, yes, there is. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Joanne.
Sorry, Johanna. I'll just say for the next meeting, make sure that we've taken a look at this and we'll begin our meeting discussing it. And traditionally, the Budget Committee has not met in July. And I just wondered if people want to keep that same structure this year, for us not to have a meeting in July.
I'm okay with that. It doesn't seem like a...
Is there anybody else okay with that? Okay.
I make a motion that we do not meet during the month of May.
No, July.
July, I'm sorry. Okay, yes, I'm becoming man of mine. That we cancel that meeting until August.
Okay. I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we won't meet in July. And our next order of business is, I told you that we had another person who had applied to be on the Budget Committee, and he has arrived. Steve Decato. Steve, do you want to come up and we'll just talk with you a little bit about what you've done in the town and why you're interested in being on the Budget Committee? Before we do that, this is Steve Decato. Why don't we go around and introduce ourselves?
Christine Dembitsky.
Wayne Brock, return and retread.
Jane Alden.
John Scanlon.
John?
Arthur Damas.
And remember how to pronounce his last name. It's Damas. I've known Arthur for 13 years, and I didn't know until tonight to pronounce it Damas. I've called him Arthur Damas. I was trying to be British and sophisticated. So from now on, it's Arthur Damas. Welcome, Arthur Damas. Just had to add a little bit of that for humor. So, Steve, what made you interested in being on the Budget Committee?
Well, I was on the road committee for a short period of time, and it pretty much resolved. I have been retired since 2007. I find I had very little to do with my time, and I wanted to get more involved. And I thought being on the budget committee would get me involved and get me out of the house and allow me to do things that could be constructive.
Okay.
I'm originally from Guilford. Don't beat me up, but I worked for the IRS for a total of 36 years. A lot of the time was out of Andover, then out of DC, and then out of West Virginia. And that's where I retired from, West Virginia. Couldn't wait to get back. And I love it where I'm at. Caleb Hill Road is like in the middle of nowhere, but you're close to everything.
We're in a good place to be on the road committee, believe me. For those of you who have driven down Caleb Hill Road. All right, anybody have any questions for Stephen?
You have an accountant background?
Not really accounting, computers.
Computers, okay, good.
Ooh, spreadsheets.
We break them all the time.
I know Excel.
Well, we will forgive you from being from Guilford, but that's okay. Some of my friends are from this.
I'll forgive you for being with the IRS.
Yeah. What do you believe you have to offer the budget committee?
Oh, what can I offer? Well, I do my own budget on Excel. I keep, I think I can go back as far as 2000. I'm always tracking things. I definitely know how to use the internet.
He comes to town meetings.
Yeah, that's where
Go to
we,
town meetings.
Yeah.
I have a general idea how the budgets work.
probably the same
They
experience.
give me today, they took out 11 files of blood out of me.
I was wondering what was, yeah.
The girl said that's the most she's ever taken out of somebody in one time.
The VA?
No,
Oh,
down at CMC.
Oh.
I went past there this afternoon.
Would you like?
No.
Sugar.
Thank you, Andy.
Good.
Don't take them for
I was
DuPont.
down past there this afternoon, so yeah. Good. You don't have to worry about not knowing a lot about accounting. By trade, I'm a social worker. So you know where I'm coming from with
My
accounting.
daughter is.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we work. What do you think the biggest tax issue or money issue that's facing the small towns like Tilton right now?
Well, one of my biggest issues has always been the school. All right, I look at it, the people that are supporting the school seem to be the homeowners. Okay, there's a lot of people that send kids to school that don't own a home. And I've always felt that they're not really paying their fair share, whereas the homeowner's always got to make up the difference. And if there was some way that you could make that equitable, it would be a big plus for everybody.
Move to Canada. And I'm being facetious, but that's a big issue, I think, for everybody. And I think, you move from West Virginia to a state that has no sales tax and no income tax, and I think that's where we suffer. We suffer locally, and the homeowners in particular suffer, and people continue to do something called take the pledge, and there's a big elephant that sits in the room down in the Concord in the State House. And what happens, and it happens no matter what, everything gets dumped on the local taxpayer. It happens at the state. You were on the road committee, you certainly saw that. It happens at the county. If you've been reading the papers recently, Belknap County is going to have a shortfall. Well, guess who's going to pick up any need? It's going to be the local taxpayer. And that's a big issue for the towns. This budget committee does not do the school budget because the school budget is done by the school district. However, our tax rate for the town incorporates that school tax. But it makes us on the local town budget committee have to look more closely at where we can cut, those areas we can cut because of other things that we have to pick up. the fire district and the school district.
Another issue is the automobiles in general. You got vehicles out there now that'll get you over 40 miles to the gallon. And you got other vehicles that'll get you around 20 on average. They all pay the same price for gas, and the gas tax is the same. The people with those with 40 miles to the gallon plus are getting a lot of free mileage on the backs of the others. But how do you, I haven't figured out yet how do you compensate for that.
Tilton is we're a very small town, so we do a lot of volunteers do many faces in different. The school budget committee actually has 2 members of the budget committee here, and the town finance officer sitting on the budget committee at the school. So we understand that. We understand the enormity of the problem. We were discussing how they were going to cut one bus. Remember that debate?
Mhm.
One bus. Thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for to run this bus that had 2 students in it. That was it. So, yeah, we understand some of that's going on. We, at the town level, are frugal, very frugal. We try to keep the budget within reason. We don't make policy. We stay out of policies. We just look at the money. And I have to be honest with you, which kills me because I'm a social worker, I like to get into the policies. We look at the bottom line. Our job is to come up with a bottom line that the town people can afford, that provides the essential services, gesundheit, from that, and that's our job, is to present that to our deliberative body, or legislative body, we keep calling them different things throughout the year, who actually has the final say on the budget. So we are a recommendation unit. We recommend to the town the budget. Now, we may go in, and people may change the budget. We've had that by a vote. So, 2 things I would suggest. Never take it personal, okay? And if you can be adaptable, because there will be days that we'll get into arguments, no, excuse me, debates. But we don't take it personal.
Yeah.
So,
All right, does anybody else have any comments or questions for Steve?
Just, I guess we'll go around. One of the things is the meetings. In the summer, we tend to just meet once a month. Obviously not July now. However, in beginning of September, we start, and into October, we start meeting once a week. It gets more and more frequent, then we take weeks.
They'll always be on Wednesday, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I just need to know that when I set up my doctor's appointments, I'll keep Wednesday out.
Yeah, I understand.
My oldest daughter in Manchester, she goes on call. It used to be every 6 weeks, but now I think it's about almost every 2 to 3 months. The next time she's on call is sometime in May. When she's on call, I have to go down there for the week to watch her daughter. Like I said, right now I'm not sure of the date in May. Hopefully it won't be on the next meeting.
We meet the 2nd Wednesday.
And I think
Of
it's
each month.
I think she's like the 3rd week.
Yeah.
in May, I think, but I can't see the date.
this board is very lenient
Yeah.
on time because,
Yeah.
if something is, that's important, family business is important. We would not take that away from anybody. And being grandpa means being grandpa, right? And you can't get away from not being grandpa. So,
All right, Arthur?
So it does get quite frequent when it gets close to the budget, and sometimes they run maybe 9:30. We try and keep, we have had a few
Couple times.
marathons,
Yeah.
but and that would be during the main budget season,
That
going
doesn't
through the
count.
numbers. Okay, that pretty much just
Like I said,
opinion.
I'm retired. I'm not punching a clock.
Yeah.
The only clock I'm punching is Manchester and the doctors, and I can schedule things other than Wednesday.
And we don't start till 7 o'clock too, and that's, a plus. Any questions, Arthur?
No.
Now, do we have an open space at this point, Jane?
Yes, we do.
I would like to make a motion that we accept Stephen DeCato as a member of, at-large member, to be an at-large member of the Budget Committee.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Now, the second page,
He has to be sworn in now, so. Pat, John, you want to swear me?
this is John Scanlon is our ex officio member of the Select Board. He will do the swearing in, sir. Then you can find a seat if you'd like, or go home.
Okay,
Yeah, from now on, you're on this side of the
Okay.
table.
let's see.
Yeah.
So,
All right, he has
to
to
read
big,
this part, hold your right hand up. Or you can repeat after me if that's easier. If you want. Be I, Stephen DeCato,
I, Stephen DeCato, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties
You start tonight.
on me as a
Budget Committee member.
Budget Committee member to the best of my abilities, agreeable to the rules and the regulations of this Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Sign this for
Oh, grab, kitty grab.
Waiting on them all.
Jane, the W-4s have to be filled out, all three of them.
You need a pen?
And just give them to Gail, you have to, oh, give them to.
No, do you need yours, what she said?
Oh, I gotta get my glasses on. It's handy, he's still there.
I got my glasses.
He can fill it out and bring it back to Gail.
I know, I was gonna give it to him.
That'd be good.
Mhm.
I need to close it down.
Gives me something to watch on TV, while I'm watching TV, watching Trump do this, and
There's a
this
statement.
person doing this, and some idiot doing something else. Lord, Lord.
Oh, Tuesdays are all.
Ah,
For you?
Do you have those 3 papers?
I do,
Do you read those?
I will. Do we have do you have your W-4?
Yes, they do.
yeah.
Well, Barbara just passed these in to Johanna.
Okay, you got it. Do you want to take these and get these to Cindy too? Please?
Joyce and Cindy, or Cindy and Joyce, either way.
You know you can get me stinking hot.
No.
I didn't get it till I got one. I was thinking, I called up Dari and I said, "I'm hot." I'm like, what the hell?
I think if you calculate it out, it comes out to be about 2.5 cents an hour.
Yes. And the last time, they put me in another tax bracket. I was so,
As selectmen, it's a little bit less.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it almost runs a negative.
It's negative.
Then I think when you get to be as old as I am,
Probably
over
does.
70,
It's,
you don't have to put it in because it's a stipend.
Mhm.
I want 100%.
Okay.
How would I do that on this?
Zero.
No,
Zero
zero would be
We
the
don't claim
opposite.
anything, do we?
Yeah, zero dependence.
Zero.
If you have zero dependents, then you get all of them, right?
Okay, so
You take it all in and then you can get it out.
This thing will give you more taken out.
You can, I'd probably talk to Tim, maybe,
yep.
Yeah.
and
Steve, talk to Tim, the treasurer,
I used to have to do all this.
the finance officer.
Yeah, I mean,
I
if you
keep
want
thinking
more
calling
taken
him
out,
the
you can put
treasurer.
it
He'd
on
like
one
to
of
be,
these
wouldn't he?
lines, but that should still
you
be
hear that,
there,
Tim?
but that's all right. Sign away. It's not thousands.
Mary,
All right, do we have any other business to come before the budget committee?
Welcome.
Glad to have you on board, Stephen.
I make a motion to adjourn?
I'll,
Oh,
you
no.
give him, you want to give him that, he can take a look at it. If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
second?
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good night, God bless you.
See you next month.
Yeah.
And Steve, these are the last